Hello Oscar, Grandpa here. Hope you're well and having lots of fun, and Mummy and Daddy are okay, and your little sister's okay too, and you've had a good last week at school. Hope you did. So we have a couple of books to read from the Mr. Men series today, and I forgot to say Moosey says hello. Hello, Moosey. Say hello, Oscar. Hello, Oscar. And Granny says hello too, and lots of love, and from Auntie Anna too. So there we are. So, what are you doing, Moosey? Sit still. Anyway, so we're going to read Mr. Sneeze. So, let's start. This is Cold Land, which is a country somewhere near the North Pole. The weather in Cold Land is winter all the time. When it isn't snowing, it's freezing, and when it isn't freezing, it's snowing. So you can imagine how cold it is. Whoa. Can you imagine how cold it is, Oscar? Because it's so cold in Cold Land, everybody who lives there is cold as well. You can tell if somebody comes from Cold Land because everybody there has a red nose. See? A red nose. And people in Cold Land aren't the only ones with red noses. In Cold Land you can see red-nosed dogs chasing red-nosed cats, chasing red-nosed mice. In Cold Land you can even see red-nosed elephants. Isn't that very strange? And what you hear most of the time in Cold Land is a noise that sounds like this. A tissue, a tissue, a tissue, 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 tissue. The sound of a sneeze is very common indeed in Cold Land, which is not very surprising, is it? This is the story of Mr. Sneeze, who lived in a small snow-covered cottage in Shivertown, the capital of Cold Land. Ooh, Shiver. Ooh. Look, there's his cold house in Shivertown. Looks very cold, doesn't it? Every morning, Mr. Sneeze woke up, sneezed, got up, sneezed, got dressed, sneezed, went downstairs, sneezed, ate his breakfast, sneezed, and went to work. Still, you've got it, sneezing. There he is, Mr. Sneeze. And he's got a red nose, hasn't he? I don't like this sneezing all the time, he thought to himself every day, until one day he decided to leave Cold Land and try to find a cure for the sneezes. So that very same day, Mr. Sneeze packed the things he'd need for his journey, mainly handkerchiefs, sneezed, locked his front door, sneezed, and set off. He walked and sneezed and sneezed and walked his way across Cold Land, and then he sneezed and walked and sneezed for days and days until Cold Land was far behind. Oh, is he going to get somewhere, do you think? As he walked away from Cold Land, he noticed that there was less and less snow, and eventually he walked so far that there was no snow at all. And as he walked, he noticed something else. He wasn't walking and sneezing, he was walking and walking. For the first time in his life, he wasn't sneezing. Not at all, not a bit, not even the tiniest tissue. There he is, look, he looks really happy because he's not in Cold Land anymore, is he? I wonder why I'm not sneezing, he thought to himself. But he must have thought his thoughts out loud to himself because a voice behind him replied, "You're not sneezing because you haven't got a cold." Mr. Sneeze jumped, turned, and there behind him stood a wise old wizard. There we are, there's the wise old wizard. He looks very wise, doesn't he? What do you think, Lucy? Yep. I think he's pretty wise. Yep. And What's a cold? Asked Mr. Sneeze. A cold is what you catch when you're too cold, said the wise old wizard wisely. Oh, said Mr. Sneeze, but I come from a country called Coldland, where everybody is too cold all the time. Nonsense, snorted the wizard. It can't be too cold all the time because of the sun. And he pointed to the sun, which was smiling in the sky. Look, happy smiley face sun, that is. What do you think, Lucy? Yep, you like the sun, do you? Yep. Okay, but we don't have any sun in Coldland, said Mr. Sneeze. No sun? exclaimed the wizard. How extremely extraordinarily extraordinary. We'd better do something about that then, hadn't we? Yes, agreed Mr. Sneeze, not quite knowing what the wizard was talking about. There's the wizard talking to Mr. Sneeze. So what's he going to do you think? How far away is this place called Coldland? Asked the wizard. Oh, it's miles and miles and miles away, replied Mr. Sneeze. In which direction? Asked the wizard. Mr. Sneeze pointed. Shouldn't take long, said the wizard, who then waved his wand and muttered some magic words, which wouldn't be magic if we told you what they were, would they? And look, there's his magic wand. And he's casting a magic spell, isn't he, on Coldland. So what's going to happen, do you think? Whatever those magic words were, they worked. Before you could say sneeze, both the wizard and Mr. Sneeze were transported to Shivertown, which you'll remember is the capital of Coldland. As usual, it was snowing. I say, this is a cold, gloomy place, said the wizard. A tissue, replied Mr. Sneeze, who had started sneezing again. Look, looks really wintry and snowy there in Coldland, doesn't it? In Shivertown. Coldland certainly needs some sunshine, said the wizard, and that's going to take some rather special magic. Please hurry up, said Mr. Sneeze, who was rapidly turning into a snowman. No, said the wizard, ignoring him. I'm going to say some magic words, and I want you to sneeze 3 times immediately afterwards. There's no poor Mr. Sneeze, who was turning into a snowman. Look, all the snow that was on his arms and on his hair. The wise old wizard then held up his magic wand and muttered some more magic words, which again wouldn't be magic if we told you what they were. A tissue, a tissue, a tissue, sneezed Mr. Sneeze. Then quite suddenly, as if by magic, which indeed it was, the sun came out from behind the big black clouds. And it stopped snowing, so the sun came out. Wow, what a very clever wizard. There now, said the wizard, that should stop the sneezing. And then after muttering some more magic words, and without waiting to even say goodbye, he disappeared. Mr. Sneeze just stood there in the sunshine, watching the snow begin to melt. Look, all the snow that was on Mr. Sneeze is melting too, becoming water. See the sun in the background. After that, the sun shone every day, and today Coldland isn't anything like it used to be. You can't see red-nosed dogs chasing red-nosed cats, chasing red-nosed mice anymore, and these days the sound of the sneeze is a very uncommon sound indeed. And even Mr. Sneeze doesn't sneeze anymore. Look, what a lovely place Shivertown now is. It's all happy in the sun. And that isn't the only thing different about Mr. Sneeze, as he discovered himself when he looked in the mirror one morning. Can you see what was different about Mr. Sneeze? There we are. Can you tell what's different about him? He's smiling and hasn't got a... What hasn't he got? Oscar, what do you think? He hasn't got a red nose. You're right. No longer has he got a red nose. That's a nice story, wasn't it? So we're now going to read you, following on from that story, we're going to read Little Miss Sunshine. How about that? See how far we get through. Welcome to Miseryland. We say welcome, but there really isn't very much to welcome you about it. It's the most miserable place in the world. Miseryland worms look like this. Look at all the worms are unhappy. One of them's crying. And when the birds wake up in the morning in Miseryland, they don't start singing, they start crying. Oh, it really is an awful place. Look, the birds are crying. Whoa. And the king of Miseryland is even worse. He sits on his throne all day long with tears streaming down his face. I'm so unhappy, he keeps sobbing over and over again. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Look, there he is, sobbing away. That's so sad, isn't it? So, little Miss Sunshine had been on holiday. She had a lovely time and now she was driving home. She was whistling happily to herself as she drove along when, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a signpost to Miseryland. Miseryland, she thought to herself, I've never heard of that before. And she's turned off down the road. So there's little Miss Sunshine in her car. She's turned down to the road to Miseryland. She came to a sign which read, you are now entering Miseryland. And underneath it said, smiling, laughing, chuckling, giggling are all forbidden by order of the king. There she is reading the notice. Oh, that's so sad, isn't it, Oscar? Oh dear, thought little Miss Sunshine as she drove along. She came to a castle with a huge door. A soldier stopped her. What do you want? He asked gloomily. I want to see the king, smiled little Miss Sunshine. You're under arrest, said the soldier. But why? Asked little Miss Sunshine. For a most serious crime, replied the soldier. Most serious indeed. There's the soldier, holding his hand up to stop little Miss Sunshine. Whoa. The soldier marched little Miss Sunshine through the huge door and across a courtyard and through another huge door and up an enormous staircase and along a long corridor and through another huge door and into a gigantic room. And at the end of the gigantic room sat the king, crying his eyes out. There, look, there's little Miss Sunshine going up all the stairs, following the soldier, following the guard. Well, and the king is crying his eyes out. Your Highness, said the soldier, bowing low, I have arrested this person for a most serious crime. The king stopped crying. She smiled at me, said the soldier. There was a shocked silence. She did what? Cried the king. She smiled at me, repeated the soldier. And look, there's the king going, what? My goodness. But why is she why is smiling not allowed? Laughed little Miss Sunshine. She laughed at me, cried the king. Why not? She chuckled. She chuckled, cried the king. And little Miss Sunshine giggled. She giggled, went on the king. And he burst into tears again. Oh, poor king. Look at little Miss Sunshine giggling away. But why are these things not allowed? Asked little Miss Sunshine. Because this is Miseryland, wept the king, and they've never been allowed, he sobbed. Oh, I was so unhappy before you arrived, he wailed, but now I'm twice as unhappy. Little Miss Sunshine looked at him. But wouldn't you like to be happy, she asked. Of course I would, cried the king. But how can I be? This is Miseryland. There's the king crying. Oh, dear. That doesn't sound nice at all. Little Miss Sunshine thought. Come on, she said. You can't talk to me like that, sobbed the king. Don't be silly, she replied, and led him across the gigantic room and through the huge door and along the long corridor, down the enormous staircase and through the huge door and across the courtyard and through the huge door to her car. Get in, she said. Look, there's the king having to follow her right through the castle. Little Miss Sunshine drove the crying king back to the large notice. Dry your eyes, she said, and handed him a large handkerchief from her handbag. And then from her handbag she produced a large pen. 5 minutes later she'd finished. Instead of saying, you are now entering Miseryland, smiling, laughing, chuckling, giggling, forbidden by order of the king, do you know what it said now? Look, there's the board. So what's Little Miss Sunshine written on the board? You are now entering Laughterland, smiling, laughing, chuckling, giggling, permitted by order of the king. There, said Little Miss Sunshine, now you can be happy. But I don't know how to be happy, sniffed the king. I never tried it. There's Little Miss Sunshine. Nonsense, said Little Miss Sunshine. It's really very easy, she smiled. The king tried to smile. Not bad, she laughed. The king tried to laugh. Getting better, she chuckled. The king tried to chuckle. You've got it, she giggled. The king looked at her. So I have, he giggled. I'm the king of Laughterland. So there's the king laughing his heart out. As Little Miss Sunshine arrived home, there was Mr. Happy out for an evening stroll. Hello, he grinned. Where have you been? Miseryland, she replied. Miseryland, he said. I didn't know there was such a place. Little Miss Sunshine giggled. Actually, she said, there isn't. There she is getting home. So that's a lovely story, isn't it, Oscar? And lots of love from Grandpa, me, and Moosey, and Granny, and Auntie Anna, and everybody else, and love to Mummy as well, and Daddy, and your little sister. So have a good week. Bye for now. Read you soon again. Bye.